Hey, this is Matthew Harvey here with the 12 o'clock siren, recording live at the 903 Broadband Studios at Cowboy Corner on the southeast side of the downtown Leonard Square. On my left hand is James Technology Hartler.
Oh, sorry, I felt like I was running late. I had to get back from D.C.
Were you there?
I was there.
I hope not.
No. I was up here earlier with you.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, we were watching it, though.
You kid.
I kid.
Crazy stuff going on?
Here there's some things, I don't know, storming Capitol buildings and pandemonium.
Yep, it's January 6, 2021, and we have our second guest of the year.
Yes,
of the new year.
Do.
Educators of the Year by the Chamber of Commerce here in Leonard. We have Mark and Michelle Scoggins. How are you doing? Excellent.
Our live studio audience like that.
Yeah.
They're glad you're here.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So, you, Mark, are... see, it feels weird to call him Mark because I always call you Coach.
That's right.
Yeah, so Coach...
Keep it up.
I'm going to have to do that. You are a BIL.
That's right.
And you are from Celeste, right, Michelle?
I am. I grew up in Celeste.
Gotcha. So, you are Educators of the Year. How did that come about?
I'm not sure how they select that, but normally there's some forms that are filled out by, I guess, local businessmen, and
sure.
I think they
just
put
recommendations
forms around town,
exactly.
And then they have Educators of the Year, Citizen of the Year,
exactly,
Legacy Award, and Business of the Year, and then people write in suggestions, and then the counselor, the chamber, votes on it.
And normally they have a banquet, and I think that, but because of COVID, and
right.
they didn't have that. We just received the award at school one day. Our principal pulled us out of class, and actually, funny story. One of the ladies came to my class and said, "Hey, we need you in Michelle's room." I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Is something's going down? And then they pulled her out of class, and then they gave us the award there, which was really nice. We were very surprised by that.
Very cool. Yeah, usually there's a little more prestige with it at the banquet. You'd be at least get a meal out of it, have have a good time with your peers and such.
We did feel fortunate to be in the parade this year, though, and Gay Doyle and Gary, they let us use their
golf cart. Yeah,
golf cart, and they decorated it and put
Nice.
Educators of the Year. So we really had a good time with that, and our kids got to ride in it. So.
Well, they let us MC the parade this year.
They did.
I saw you guys when we
Yeah.
made the square, but then it was happening all so quickly. But, for a woman, this felt like a Hallmark movie. So I loved that experience.
Oh, yeah. Are you a Hallmark fan?
I am.
Yeah.
I am. I mean, no one else in my home is.
That's why we have multiple TVs.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
have
good.
to watch that.
But it did. It was really nice. Like, that's something I like about Leonard.
Oh, sure.
That small town atmosphere, that was special. I like that a lot.
It was really well done this year.
Parade was great.
It was really good.
It's getting better every year.
That's what I've heard. Yeah. I've heard that.
Last year was what we thought set the standard, and this year it was better.
Even with the COVID restrictions.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering about that.
Impressive.
Yeah, very impressive.
Next year, bigger.
So, Michelle, you teach geography. You said what?
Yes, it's a part of like 6th grade social studies.
Gotcha.
So I've taught that every year. Gosh, I'm on year 20. So
right.
I'm on year 20, and you're on year 25.
25 in Leonard, but 26 overall.
Where did you
My
teach
first year was in commerce.
Oh, okay.
I did not know that.
So, did you come to Leonard in 2000?
01. So Brandy Savage worked here, if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So people, if they listen, they'll know. And I had just moved back from graduating, and she was like, we really need a teacher and a coach. And I was like, well, I can do anything for a year.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I was like, sure, I'll take that job. And I know back then the requirements and restrictions were so much different, or not restrictions, but certifications and things. So the principal was like, do you want to teach science or do you want to teach social studies? And I was like, well, I have a sociology background. Let's just go with social studies. That seems like a good fit. I like history and traveling and all that kind of stuff. So then I took that book home, and that's what started it. And then I met Mark and just decided to stay here. Like, we got married, and now like 20 years later, that's how.
Jeez.
I know, and that's crazy to think, like 20 years. And then the other thing, since we're talking about school, I've only been in the classroom that I'm in what would be like the old high school for Leonard, and now it's a junior high. So I'm in the second room there, And that's where like I started and still am. So like a lot of people change classrooms. So that's not really normal. And then you'll teach lessons like on 9/11 and I'll tell the kids, go ask your parents where they were September 11th, 2001. And I was like, I was right here. Like I'm standing right where I was in this moment. And just so weird things like that. And I think about that classroom, like I've had it longer than any home I've ever lived in. So you're like, whoa, you're really attached to like this school. Like it's a big part of our story, I would say. Wouldn't that be fair to say?
Definitely.
The intermediate school or the junior high?
So for you guys.
It was the high school.
Yes.
My high school?
It was your high school, yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
I was 2000.
Yeah.
So that was the last year of the high school.
That's right.
The first 2 years of my high school.
And then I guess did the new building open in like 2000 or 01?
I graduated in 02 and I went my junior and senior year in the new building. So yeah, 2001 2001.
I think that's right.
And then 2001 to 2002. Yeah. So
because they were in a big renovation when I came up for my interview to get hired, because I think they were trying to remodel it because it kind of just been left like, yeah, we're going to a new building.
Everyone knew there was a new building coming in.
Because I had you when you first got here, and I just couldn't remember what class. I couldn't remember what you taught, and that was in the old building.
Yeah. Yes, y'all were around, and
I was a freshman or sophomore.
Exactly. When I taught you, we were in the intermediate,
Yes.
the current intermediate building. It was the junior high building at the time, which I guess housed the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
That's what I'm remembering.
I'm believing
yes,
that's what
that
it
would
was.
make sense for you.
Can I interrupt the flow of this a second though?
While we argue about locations.
While we argue about the intermediate school, when you had the classroom next to, oh my gosh, see, you ever do something awkward and then think about it for 20 years? I was in your class and I busted a stink bomb behind your chair, and I remember you looking at me going, "That is foul."
And
don't remember
I
that.
felt so terrible, like because I thought it was going to be funny, but it stayed.
I'm just disappointed with you.
I know, and I remember going, "Man, I should have really saved that for somebody like I didn't like." You know,
That's right. Well, hey,
and
it's
like
okay.
I randomly think about that and go, "Oh man," you know.
And I haven't thought about that.
Oh,
So
good,
there's so
good.
many things that happen
Gosh,
throughout.
You remember
so
it?
many things.
No, I do not. There
Okay.
are some things that I probably do remember, but off the top, with 25 years at Leonard,
There's a lot of
it
incidents.
kind of cycles through there. When I'm teaching kids of students that I taught, it used to be weird when I would teach kids of classmates of mine since I graduated in Leonard.
Yeah.
That was kind of awkward. But then now I'm teaching students that I had previously, and now they're kids. So that's
See, I think I'd like
Makes
to
you feel
teach.
old.
I think I'd like to teach my friends' kids because I could just call them up and be like, "Hey, come on, what's your kid doing?"
I was always kind of jealous of the, because I'm not from Leonard properly, or you're not either.
No.
But you go through school, you would have been this kid in Buffalo where the teacher goes, "Oh, I know you."
right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and either good or bad. I mean, I don't know if it was good to not be known at all,
Right.
or have the family and
Yeah.
big brother or sister set the bar.
I think it could go either way, right?
I think
I
being
love
in
it.
Leonard this long, I think has given us a lot of respect to where a lot of the kids already know who we are to begin with, and they come in and give us,
or credibility and like trust,
exactly.
where they
the parent
they
and the
know
parents too, they trust
it's
when
going
they
to be
come in
fair
there. Exactly.
and it's going to be okay, and their kid's going to be okay in our class, and I like that. But as a parent now, like with kids in school, like I appreciate that when I see them go off into a building or a classroom.
Definitely.
Like it's reassuring
Sure.
and comforting. Yeah.
So, Mark, would you come into Leonard teaching and coaching, correct?
So yes, I was teacher and coach in 1996 is when I came here. So I guess you would have been in starting 7th grade.
Yep,
I
that's
believe
it.
So
Okay.
so
I was a freshman just out of junior high.
exactly.
Yeah,
So-
because you and Coach Maxwell
That's right.
and
That's
Coach
great.
Nix were my first set of coaches.
That's right. That's right. So I was I taught a year in commerce. I got lucky. I graduated in December of 1995.
Was that
So I was
was that commerce or ETBU?
It was East
no, sorry,
ETSU.
ETSU, sorry.
Yes. So I was student teaching there at the middle school, and then they had a job open that came up during the middle of the year. I think a lady had gotten cancer and needed to take a leave, and so I finished up the year, was far enough into the year to receive a full year's credit of teaching. And then I knew I wanted to come back and coach and teach and do those things. And so I got that offer in 96, came in, started with the junior high. And
that's a good fit. Like we're
It
both
is.
middle school, junior high. We could, our certifications from the state, like we could go to the high school if we ever wanted to, but
that's what I did my student teaching in. That's kind of where I wanted to be to begin with. So I don't know.
Everybody else is like, yeah, have them. That's
Right,
fine.
right.
Exactly.
So
it's
it's a
kind of
good
a weird.
fit.
You've
it is-
always
it
got a
is
job.
weird. Yeah.
And
But I do
maybe-
enjoy the age. I really
I
do.
do too. And I don't know if we'll ever go to the high school. Like it's not that something we're seeking, but so I'll never say never.
Right.
But at the same time, I like this age.
But you started at the high school here, though,
I
right?
didn't. So I always started as 6th and 7th grade. So I think kids were just kind of back and forth maybe, and that's where we would see them.
Okay, so, man, I have like a, what do they call it? The Mandela effect?
Yep.
We'll have to figure this out offline. It'll be entirely boring for somebody to listen to, but
Mark, if my memory serves correctly, you're a numbers guy.
I'm a numbers guy.
Math, right?
Math teacher. That's right. And that's all I've ever taught at Leonard.
Cool.
So, and I knew math teachers are kind of hard to find. There's not as many people with that certification.
Not many math coaches either.
So I knew that. I knew that going into there, that it's some stability, some job security that you have there when you teach that. So
it's not my favorite.
I-
Math's hard.
I double majored in college with math and history because I knew that lots of history jobs there too, but I never got the certification in it because I kind of knew that once I got on at math, that's really what I wanted to do. That's what my intentions were. So
what level math are you introducing at that age?
right now I'm teaching mainly 8th grade, all of 8th grade, and then a little bit of 7th grade. So when our junior high houses the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and so me and another teacher, he takes the 6th grade and half the 7th grade, and then I take half the 7th grade and the 8th grade. And
Is that like introducing algebra or complicated algebra?
Basically, the objectives changed over the last probably 5 years to where we're introducing a whole lot more algebra in 8th grade than we did before. So a lot of the things that we teach are kind of I'd say 8th grade's a little bit of mixture of pre-algebra and pre-geometry. So we kind of get through that. So it's a lot tougher than what y'all had in 8th grade.
I'm glad that I graduated when I did.
I think it's fair too, like when you hear parents who had to stay home during the pandemic and help their children with the work, they were like, was it this hard? I think it's more challenging.
Oh, it's
or they
definitely
use
more
the word
challenging.
rigorous
Oh,
and
it
stuff
definitely-
in school. Like, I think so. It is really challenging.
Because when y'all were in school, you took the TOS test. Would
I
that be
remember
right?
that, yeah.
I mean, if you would look at a TOS test compared to a STAR test, it's not in day
Really?
difference. Oh, yeah.
Do they smell the same?
They smell the same. And you still
have to break the seal on the
Oh,
edge,
yeah.
take your
Take your pencil
pencil.
down.
Excellent.
and-
Excellent.
Still have to help kids with that.
Yeah,
so.
some kids will butcher a booklet on you in a hurry.
Did you do you still get like juice and snacks during toss test or star or what?
No,
Oh, it's so serious now. Like everybody,
it is.
they just.
But I know what
you
Man.
can bring a
brought that
snack.
up, yeah.
Little pouches of juice.
Yeah, apple juice. You know.
Yeah.
Man.
I think they serve a free breakfast. That might be.
Yeah, I
Everybody
think so,
gets breakfast.
but you have to get
before.
on up early to school maybe to get it. I'm not 100% sure about that
Funny.
though.
So Michelle, you said you majored in sociology. Is that what
I
you said?
did.
So teaching was kind of an accident for you.
That is true. So I was the person that like changed majors a couple of times.
That's all right.
in
I've got like
college.
9 colleges on my.
So I
She
probably
says a couple of different colleges. Well,
Yeah.
you have a
Sure. So I went to East Texas Baptist University. That's in Marshall,
Marshall.
Texas.
Okay.
Yes,
Man.
East Texas.
I
You
just said that on
said
accident.
that, and
I
I was like,
misspoke
whoa,
and I was.
that's interesting.
Didn't
We
know
did some
that.
research.
No,
I know, right?
I
Like,
had no idea. That was
So-
just a misspeak.
then I transferred to Texas A&M, and I think my first major was nursing, my second major was history, and then my third major was sociology. So I don't know, the studying of groups of people and why they act and behave the way they do, and trends and data. So Mark and I both have our nerd hobbies like you talk about
Sure.
with people. So those types of things we still like to talk about and look at. So
No,
that's
that's
a little,
cool.
but it's a good fit for me and what I teach with like the social studies and the groups of people, and then the Texas history is easy. Yeah.
Did you have a plan prior to falling into teaching, or did you fall into teaching before you had really decided what you'd wanted to do?
Just fell into it, came from a family that had a lot of teachers, so that seemed like a natural fit too. And then I needed a job. So when you graduate from college,
You're hungry.
So you kind of need to pay off that debt. So I just took that interview and was willing to take this job, but it's a good fit. Sometimes you end up in something and you're like, okay, it sounds hokey when they're like, oh, it's a calling or this is what you're supposed to be. But at least I feel really good about this job and the impact and just getting to interact with the kids. It's really good. So no, there was no plan, I guess, to answer your question other than I was going to do this for a year and then quit and move on. But maybe.
But life.
Yeah. And so it's a good life. So no regrets on that. It's really good.
That's awesome. Did you ever want to, and this goes for both of you, like, the teacher lifestyle, you get the summers off.
Yes.
Good.
Did y'all ever get to travel before the kids and stuff like that? Or
we also really like
we travel with the kids a lot too. So
yeah, we've loaded them up for road trips from when they were like 1. Like we'll put them in the car and go across country. So we've always kind of made that a priority because you guys know this. Like you're in a small town and you feel like, okay, this is just all that I'm exposed to here. Right. But there's so much more. Like we choose to live here. Like we love this.
Oh, absolutely.
But at the same time, you don't want it to be where they don't have a perspective or like you just have this, like, I didn't know this was out there. Like, so that's a big deal for us.
That's definitely a luxury of teaching is that with both of us teaching is that we're off at the same time. Our kids are off, and we can pick up and go. July hits or wherever.
Yeah. Everybody's on the same schedule.
That's exactly right. So, nice. So we take. We were gone 2 weeks this year?
I don't know. We've taken some that are like 17 days,
yeah, 17
14
or 18.
days.
I mean, and we get in
the
the
car.
car.
Say that
we'll,
too loud.
We'll drive.
Your teacher friends might get mad and be like,
Where do y'all like to go?
We
everywhere? No,
yes,
I know.
right.
We always usually just travel within the U.S. because
This
it
year
seems like affordable.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's so much to see.
Right, and we love another nerd hobby. Like we love national parks, so we
too.
always
Definitely.
work that in, and we have even like really put it up on another nerd level, like the national parks passport. So we're stamping those.
Yeah.
And
cool.
It was hard to get stamps this year during COVID.
Yeah.
I mean,
so we
really
were
was.
in Washington, and there were a bunch in Washington, D.C., and we went in and, if you're nice to people and smile and you're like, hey, can we, get the stamps? We know COVID. And usually they see the boys and people are really accommodating. And we get in there and it's July. They hadn't been changed since March. That was such a weird feeling to see that. Like time had kind of just stopped for everything. But so we did that. But we've taken the boys all the way up to Washington State, done the West Coast, and then we've gone up to Maine and done like Acadia.
Cool.
So that was a big deal. And then Midwest, we've done all of that, but we haven't ever taken our kids to Florida. Like we've gone. But,
it's weird, and we've seen a lot of national parks, but it's not like some of the major ones, the most popular ones we haven't been to. So it's like Yellowstone.
They're
Right.
like,
Bucket
they're like
list.
270, 270 or so.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
Maybe.
There's a lot of
maybe.
pages on the.
Maybe.
There's a
Yeah.
lot in that passport, yeah.
But yeah, Yosemite, Grand Canyon, even.
We have plans to go to
haven't
Big
done those.
Bend spring break.
We've done Big Bend a
it's
couple of
beautiful.
times.
I
It's
love
beautiful.
I've been, but we've not gone with the boy.
My brother
So
just got back.
And it snowed.
Oh,
wow.
And they
his,
closed
his
the
photos
park.
are awesome.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's crazy, you talk about the popular ones you haven't been to. A lot of the ones that don't get a lot of praise are, I think, better. Like I went to Moab a couple years ago, and we did Arches.
We did that.
Which was great.
This summer.
This summer.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. But then I went up to Canyonlands. Canyonlands I loved more. I was like, why?
So vast.
It's vast.
And-
like crazy.
We only got to go into one section because I guess
It's
in
huge.
Canyonlands they're not connected, so you have to exit out of one section to go to the other section.
I just went to one too. I went to the Islands in the Sky.
That's the one.
Yeah.
We went
Okay.
to.
So we went out there at like 4 a.m. And because a buddy of mine had been out there, and he was like, hey, I want y'all to see something. So he took us out, and he set up, and we just like made coffee, and it's just dark, and we're waiting. Well, then the sun came up, and we were standing on this pillar And I mean, like 5 feet from me was just a sheer drop.
I cannot.
I was like, you've got to
What are you
let me
doing?
know these
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
you know? And, but it was a very cool experience. Like I've never seen anything or witnessed like that.
Yeah,
So.
it's incredible. I guess Mesa Arch, is that the one that's there?
Yep.
That
We
went
did
to?
the sunrise at Acadia.
That's cool.
So, they'll say that's the first place in the contiguous U.S. where you'll see
Sun
the
touches.
sunrise.
Oh, that's cool.
And that was just a big moment for me, like on my bucket list of like, this is something I want to see before I die.
It's also the closest point to Africa.
What? On the Atlantic Ocean? Like
Yep.
when you cross?
That's
I did
bizarre.
not know
That was a
that.
Jeopardy geography final Jeopardy question
Wow.
answer.
Oh, I feel like I'm learning. It's constantly learning.
Research that, but I'm pretty sure it's right.
It's
I
also
could have butchered it, but
This
I'm
is
pretty
like
sure.
kids at school,
It
and
makes
I'm like,
sense.
I understand. Interesting.
It makes sense if the
like
sun touches it first, then it's probably close to Africa too.
Oh, that does
Right.
make sense.
and the
actually.
curvature of the Earth, like when
You'd
you think
think it's
about all of
Florida,
that.
but it's not.
You
Yeah.
would think.
Well, we had a guy that we were alone. You know how you said you're just kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and that's such a nice thing when you're in the parks. And
yeah.
he pulled up and stayed further away from us, but then he came down and started talking to us once the sun came up, and everybody had their moment. And he was like, "I'm from Florida, and I'm on fishing boats a lot." But he was like, "Nothing beats this moment." And yeah, so
It's
that's
kind of weird that Acadia is what spawned current day Cajuns. That's where they're from.
Yeah.
The Acadi they're from
Exiles.
up there. They're exiles.
crazy?
That's why the Cajun accent kind of sounds like a New England accent,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There's little bits of it.
if
Did
you
not
think
know
about
that.
it.
Yeah.
Once I learned that little tidbit of information, I went, that's why they kind of sound like basically a Southern
Well,
Yankee.
and also, as long as we're talking about nerd facts and accents, the
I just love the way this has turned out.
you don't know where it's gonna go.
they're
do you?
educating us, and
There's
we're
no
educating
script.
them.
That's right.
Talking about accents, North Carolina, have you ever thought sometimes they sound kind of like they have a brogue, like an Irish brogue? Well, the Outer Banks, there's a group of people known as the Hoy-Toiters, which is actually the high tiders. They lived there because they
Okay.
couldn't get to the mainland during high tide. And so they're called Hoy-Toiters. Little fun factoid for you there.
Did not know that.
I'm always up for interesting random pieces of information.
Okay.
I like it a lot.
There we go.
I know.
Sociology and math and factoids. That's what we do here.
Good stuff.
I called you coach earlier. You came in here as a coach, right?
That's right. I did.
What's your career as a coach like?
Well, I enjoyed it. I really did. When I first began coaching, you coach everything.
Mhm.
I mean, from football 2-a-days till you're at the track meets.
That's why
and
you
you're
have to be
doing everything.
selective on the school you attend.
Yeah, definitely. So, and then eventually I got to where I just did assistant with Coach Walker with girls basketball. And I did that for a few years. And then
And that's what you were doing when I started.
it was. Michelle was
I
a coach too. So she
coached
coached
junior
just
high.
a couple of years with junior high.
It wasn't my calling.
And you're
Sure.
like, no.
But I was mainly doing high school and she was doing junior high. So it was basically every night of the week. Either I'm gone on Tuesday, Fridays, she's gone on Monday, Thursdays, different things. And we just went a lot. And I knew the more I got into teaching that I really, I loved coaching too, but I really liked teaching. And so when the opportunity came to where I just solely was a teacher, I did that. And I felt like I could give more of myself to one thing than it's hard. It's hard to coach
I respect
and teach. I
coaches.
really do.
I
It's
really
it's
do.
a lot of responsibility that you would do. But I did enjoy my time doing the coaching.
It's good perspective too to like have to have coached.
Yeah, definitely.
You can understand it and be sympathetic to that too. Where like kids desire both, and like that athletics is really good for some kids. Where like academically they may be like, "Meh," you really might get something out of them, and that's what keeps them coming to school.
definitely. Mhm.
But then
It's also extracurricular for you too,
Definitely.
you know, because
Yeah.
you're still teaching too, right?
That's exactly right.
It's a
Yeah.
lot of time.
it's so much time.
Coach Walker was a good man.
Definitely.
I like that guy a lot.
I learned a lot just coaching under him. He
Yeah,
had a lot of good knowledge and wisdom to pass on.
he was so in the classroom. He was so even keel, you know.
Mhm.
So I like seeing him kind of tear it up out on the court a little
Oh
bit.
yeah. Oh yeah.
He was a geography teacher
That's
too, right?
He
right.
was.
I think so.
It was. I was a big fan of that guy. He never got me in trouble, so I was always happy to be in his class. Speaking of coaches, Coach Nix got his 400th
I saw
win.
that. Yep.
Oh, cool.
And I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but he shall not be named, but somebody texted me a screenshot of that and said, I'm about to send this and tell him that Alex Stevenson, the coach over at Dodge City, got his 400th before he was 25.
Yikes.
Awesome. And I bet he did send it to him, so I'm going to text him and see what he said.
All in fun, hopefully.
All in fun.
I saw him right before Christmas. Leonard Junior High played Pottsboro, and we went over there with my boys in 8th grade, and he played over there. So we saw him and spoke to him briefly, but he looks like he's doing well.
Yeah.
And his son's a good player. Yeah.
So
really
good.
freshman, and he's playing really well for
and he's
Pottsboro.
dropping like 35 and stuff. No, I mean, 400 is amazing because, I mean, really the kind of the standard is if you get to 500, no matter how long your career is, you're like, I've got 500 wins.
Yeah, exactly.
That's incredible.
So, so that's pretty awesome. So it's all in good fun.
It's hard to believe because he started out in Leonard in '96, the same year that I started out. It's just hard to believe how quickly it's went. And now I think, you brought us here with as educators of the year, and I was like, you kind of really get that when you've been there a little bit.
Because we're so
I was
old,
like,
is
I
why
kinda
we
start
got
realizing,
it. We've just been there too long.
Yeah, I am the old person
It's
getting that way,
in the
yeah.
building. It is. It's weird. And when you say 400 wins, and that's kind of capping a career there,
Right.
it's like, and so you start thinking about those things. It's like, wow, it's.
But I feel like I've got a lot of good
I do
years
too.
to give. Like
I'm not anywhere close to retiring.
I think
don't
Willie
feel.
Moreland, one time we were talking to her, she said working in the schools, like it really keeps you young. And I was like, man, I kind of feel like that. Like I feel like I relate to these kids, and when they talk about things or interests, like we'll go look something up on the internet. If we hear them say it, I'm like, oh, that's what that means. Or,
Yeah,
or
definitely.
just to kind of be in the know, because I'm
Keeps you
like,
in the
I
know,
don't
keeps
want to
you
say
young.
certain things, or Urban Dictionary it, just whatever you need to do to look it up. But I don't want to, like, you could retire. How quickly could you retire? You counted
I
this
think
up,
it's
Matt.
about 4 years.
Yeah,
Oh my
I
gosh.
know.
Is that really?
It is. It's,
Right?
but you wouldn't receive a full retirement,
but
you
you're
would be
eligible.
able to,
You're
you would be
eligible.
eligible.
That's I graduated. I graduated in 02, joined the military in October of that year, and I still do the guard thing. And I can retire in October of next year.
Oh, that's
and
great.
It's just like
That's
what?
awesome.
And I probably will. I don't have a lot of good years left to give, but
No,
I'm
but-
ready to go.
Was that a goal going into it?
No, not
no,
at all.
it wasn't. Okay,
Nope.
it just
I joined active duty, did the active duty thing, and
What branch?
Air Force.
Okay. Thank
And,
you for your service.
oh,
like
yes,
you're always, we're
definitely.
always proud of our
My
kids
pleasure.
who go off and do
Definitely.
that.
Did that, got out, and joined the guard, and just kind of like benefits and whatnot. And then just kind of kept
with it.
re-signing because like the insurance is good and it's a little paycheck here and there, And I don't know. And just I looked up and I was like, oh, man, I'm 15 years in. I might as well re-enlist
might
one
as
more
well,
time.
yeah.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
it's been, but circling back to it goes very fast, like the time just speeds by,
Yeah.
it seems.
definitely.
I don't know how, I look after the military thing, we had kids and now I've got an 8-year-old, and a
Right. Like
6-year-old.
ours, 14 and 11. And I'm thinking, man, we're so much closer to them being like 18 and out of the house. And I don't know how that happens. And you
I'll be
hear
going to college about the time you're retiring, so
Right.
I'd stay working.
That's
That-
exactly the plan.
And
That's
I think
what,
that is
Yeah.
our goal there. It was
Yeah.
like at least 10 years. I mean,
I
the
feel like
kids
I've
have-
got at least 10 good years
That's
left
awesome.
to give. Like, I hope more. Like,
I hope more too.
health and
I'd like 15.
mental capacity and all those things. Like, I want to, because it doesn't seem like, I don't feel like going to work's a burden. Like, this has been a really hard year
It is.
teaching during the
course, yeah.
pandemic. Like, that I'm not even gonna make light of that. Like, it's been so
One would
challenging.
think it's going to get better.
I think so.
So-
I think it's going to get.
Bring us up to date on the past year, maybe since COVID, and your experience with it, having to go probably virtual and not, and then transitioning back and forth, right?
I always need to say, like, we're so fortunate to work for Leonard. I feel like it's such a good school district with good leadership.
Definitely.
And I really respect our admin, because you see people trying to make the news to be the ones that go out and like, this is what we're doing and setting the trends. And I feel like in a respectful way, our leadership has that quiet confidence just to do what's best for our community. And we've always said, like, the school's a reflection of the community. And so we want to do what's best for here, not what Frisco or Allen or even, Van Austin down the road's doing, like what's best for Leonard. And we kind of eased into it through the spring of when we first had the shutdown, which, by the way, we were tracking it in my social studies class. And I was like, guys, we're not going to shut down. And then we went to spring break and just how quickly that went, right?
Yeah.
And then we just kind of did, you have kids here. So we did more of like the packet route,
Right.
you know, because of internet access, and like people who don't live in rural America don't understand the difficulty to get internet, and that it's not a luxury, it's a utility. And these aren't original thoughts I have. Y'all have heard that.
Oh, yeah.
But so to have that and have our kids have access to it, or our students, we just did that. Then we went back this year, and, you know, if we had to say so, when they asked us on the survey, we were like, we want to be in person. If it's safe, we want to be in person, because I feel like that's the best educational environment for kids, for the students.
Sure.
For my own kids, for me as a teacher to like,
That's
you know,
the way you do it.
The relay the knowledge.
That's the way it's done.
You
Yeah.
can't recreate. That's why
Yeah.
we've said this isn't, the whole online learning isn't the wave of the future, because why isn't everyone online in college? Like, it's just not as, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for.
New Hampshire
Well-
college or university.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
Southern
maybe,
New Hampshire.
Right. It works for
Yes,
some
that-
people.
right. University of Phoenix.
Yeah, right.
Well, go
It
to an
does,
employer
and
and say, I'm a graduate of Southern New Hampshire, or I'm a graduate of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I
Right.
know. So I'm just rambling, but y'all are good listeners. So here's the thing. Like, we went back and kids had the option if they felt like they need to stay home. And then we had the in-person. And just for the teacher standpoint of it, like, it's been difficult because we've done 2 jobs. So you've handled like your online, and I don't want to say like it's ever going to be like, oh, we're really excelling at this, but I think we're surviving it.
We are surviving.
We're surviving
definitely.
it and trying to do the best we can. And that's,
Well, and so much is on the parents at that point. If your kid's virtual, you got to be involved. You can't.
have to.
I mean, you know, we're very involved with our kids are virtual, sort of. Anyway, so we're doing a lot of homework with them, and
right.
you know, and there are kids out there that don't have that, you know, and
So if there's
I'm
not
sure
a
they're
support
struggling.
system, yeah, I can see that, but that's sort of a long answer to that question.
No
but-
disrespect to Southern New Hampshire students or
No,
anything.
it's exactly right.
Absolutely not.
It's tough to get a college degree any way you do it, but I know showing up to the
Absolutely.
class is a lot harder.
In the online programs, that's a niche that needs to be filled. There, it's just
And they're working it
not-
out too, and eventually it'll get
it-
to
it
some
will
level
be.
of excellence, you
be.
know. And
I will say, look, I've gone to both in-person and online schools, and even my experience online, it's a lot of administrative stuff. Just make sure you log in,
Right.
say
Yes.
something,
Right.
and it's not. I mean, I can read.
I took one class
read, but-
online in college, and I was like, "Oh, this is for if you want to slack off." And
Yeah, yeah.
I get
do
it.
think it is
I
changing.
get it. Yeah.
I do think it is
Oh.
changing.
and that
if
may
you've
have it's
ever-
probably changed a lot.
Have you ever
yeah.
taken a math class online? I think most people, unless you're gifted in math and you really understand and
not.
can do that, then that's a good route for you. But most people aren't going to be able to take an online math class.
I
It's
need
gonna,
handheld.
You will. You need
Yes.
people to go back and reinforce and say, hey, this is where I see where your error is. And the computer's not going to do that. They're just going to tell you, this is wrong, try again, you know, and try to walk you through it. But you need someone.
I
there.
bet I could shut that computer down. Like it would just stop working.
There's
Yeah.
no more help for you.
Yeah, no.
so.
You're
It
done.
just won't work for
No, sure.
every profession. If I'm having surgery, I hope my doctor has learned, you know,
hands-on.
hands-on and not just online. I kind of watched a YouTube video before I came up here.
Played Operation as
Stayed
a
at a
kid.
Motel 6 last night.
YouTube has its place, though.
It does. It really
Well, it
does.
helped us fix a car.
We,
and
d-
change,
Exactly.
you know, like, there's some
right. We do a
things.
lot of stuff there.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
I built a when the pandemic first kicked off and we all thought it might be the end. I built a hydroponic vegetable system from YouTube.
Nice.
Like
Impressive.
you know, I got onto YouTube and it stepped you right through it. So anyway, sorry. There's an aside.
No.
Oh, there's lots of side rants that have been
Yeah,
going on
definitely.
here. So hopefully they're just like tuning out. They're like, fast forward through that.
No, it's you know, it's funny. Matthew and I, when we first started this, even now, I still get nervous before going on. But you know, you think, man, can we fill up an hour? Can we fill up half an hour and a half? And then you realize, like,
It's
you've got all
Right,
kinds of
right.
experiences, you know, and people will let you know what they like and don't like. So
That's right. Well, you have sports radio like The Ticket. They just keep going for 2, 3, 4 hours, and I can.
They're well produced.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
we still don't
They
know what
are.
we're doing.
My notes
Compared
are
to
Mark
this.
and Michelle Scoggins,
Awesome.
I love that.
I know.
educators of the year.
And I
Lot of
don't have
prep
any.
work, huh? That's right.
I was like, what are the talking points? You're like, there are none. And I thought, oh,
We
I'm
thought
so
you brought
nervous.
them.
Oh,
There's
okay.
4 options on James's his middle name when we did the intro. And they are all from the National Day. Today is National Bean Day. Today is National Cuddle Up Day, Shortbread, and Technology. So I went with technology on that.
I sell it.
So
I wondered if you were going to talk about just what was happening at the Capitol. I mean, you mentioned it in the intro, but wow, like
It's a lot.
It's
so much.
just, and I don't know, our country, like the different
Well, y'all aren't
thoughts.
much older than us, but you're a little bit older than us, and like you were talking about, like remembering 9/11 and all that prior to the show. Have you seen anything like this in y'all's time? Do y'all remember anything like
Not
this?
in our lifetime, but
Yeah.
like
No,
you,
the
60s probably, right?
and you go back to like Bush and Gore, like
Yeah.
that one's been talked about a lot. So right before we did the presidential election in
Yeah.
November, I did a lesson through a website called iCivics, and it really talked kids through that election just to kind of let them know, I think, that
The Bush Gore?
yes, that this upcoming election could potentially weigh out like that. And so sometimes younger people would be like, I just can't believe this. I can't believe it's this close. And you follow like presidential historians on Twitter and stuff that'll come up with information. And if you study history and you look at it, you go, there have been times in our country. I mean, we had a civil war. So yeah, like there have been times that are difficult, but this in our lifetime, I am shocked.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is.
Bush and Gore was kind of like a 7th grade basketball game versus what's going on now with the culture. I mean,
Yes,
I
I would
know.
agree. I
You
would
know?
agree.
And so you just sit back and kind of observe, and I don't know what to think about a lot of things. Like you try to have empathy and understand like the point of view where people are coming from, but I don't think most people can sit back and objectively look at the other side.
No.
We all are people are so ingrained in what they
the
believe.
point
right
of view
now.
we see is magnified.
Yeah, social media.
Yeah.
It is. That's the
I can't remember who said it on. It was on Rogan, but they said, you know how like when you go to a concert, generally it's fun because you're there with a bunch of people for a purpose.
Right.
You know, it's a crowd for a purpose. Social media is a crowd without a purpose, and that is why it always turns negative. You know. So
And you can find anyone to validate any
Yeah.
thought you have. And I guess when we talk about it at home, like our biggest thing is the lack of like proof or validity, or people can say whatever. Like you just watched that thing where people can say whatever on the internet. What was that? Where they were talking about the laws that were put in place that were protecting websites originally when the internet was.
I forgot what that
I know,
was.
I put you on the spot. But
Yeah,
it was like
you
a
did.
60-minute segment, and how it was kind of just the Wild West, and they
Right.
didn't ever foresee it. I mean, who could foresee it becoming what it is
I know
today?
what
yeah.
you're talking about. Yeah,
And
it was 60 minutes. When you
yeah,
said that.
yeah, and now it's just
well,
it's a monster.
it gets brought up a lot. But have y'all ever watched The Social Dilemma?
I've watched
Enough
part
of it,
Yeah,
yeah,
to
we
know.
know.
I
They talk about like the like button, the guy that made the like button, and how he was like, man, I had no idea that people were going to get their validation from it, and how many likes you get, and
You're
you know,
a user. They were like the only other thing that calls you that is like a drug.
Yeah,
like a person
yeah.
that sells you drugs. Like you're a user. And I was
you're on
like,
that heroin.
"Oh."
No, that's social media. you
Never-
know?
we
Never-
see that at school a lot with just the kids, the changing of the social media, TikTok, all the kids
Oh my
doing all the
goodness.
TikTok
I went
dances
viral
and
on
going-
TikTok.
Did you?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Sort of. After I had COVID, I made a video about it.
Yeah.
And I woke up to like 335,000 views, and it was a little scary. Like,
I would
was
think
like,
it would be.
You know,
I was
But
gonna
now
say,
I'm doing
never mind
dances.
any of that. Have y'all seen the Boston Dynamics robots dancing to "Do You Love Me"?
No.
is it scary?
It's horrific.
Really?
There's this dog comes out, you know how the dog prances, but it's got this long neck and like just a hand beak like this. And I'm just thinking of one of these things coming up and telling me what to do.
Yeah.
And then I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
no. And then it's like, no, you are. And it just picks me up, you know.
It's coming,
Oh,
man.
it's
Skynet. Skynet.
Scary stuff.
It's-
I can't.
Sorry, that was a
Can't
Well-
imagine.
sidebar there.
It's kind of, one of the presidential candidates this year, Andrew Yang, talked a lot about technology and, its role coming up. And while I'm not a big fan of him politically, I think he's a good dude and he's a very smart guy. And
He's the one
it's-
that wore the math button, right? Make America
Yep.
think harder.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah.
And no tie. He
No
wouldn't wear a
tie.
tie. He'd wear a sport coat, but no tie. which is fine, whatever. But he also believes some hokey stuff, but there's some stuff that out there that he talks about that's kind of scary with technology and jobs, being just done away with, which we've seen before,
Sure.
Right.
and it's gonna kind of exponentially scale, and that's scary to think about.
Well, we were talking to our pediatrician, like you take your kids to those well child appointments and
Sure.
stuff, and he was like, with technology, because he's an older gentleman, and we were like, well, how do you, the goal is how do you live with it and form like a healthy balance, if that can even be attained,
Right.
because you can't live without it now. Like as a parent, you can't just say we're cut off from it. Like I'm not Amish, so I feel that way because I don't have Amazon Prime. So when I check out at Whole Foods, they're like, "Do you have Prime?"
they
And
look
I'm
at
like,
you weird.
No,
Like,
like I am Amish,
You do
but
not have Prime?
you do not have Prime.
Does not
Do you get a
compute.
discount?
Go get in your
Yeah,
horse
you
and
do.
buggy and head back to Leonard. But no, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Like it's questions I don't have the answer to. And in education, like you see these kids, and sometimes I know they spend so much time on it and different. We talked about this before we started recording, though. And how you said like we've seen trends change as far as like you guys maybe were what I said 07's first smartphone, like so then this becomes a part of how kids grow up now, instead of like going out on back roads or going around the square or like
Yeah.
I'm a Celeste person, so we would cruise Wesley and turn
Yeah.
around at Kmart in the car wash.
Yep.
So that's sort
As
of thing.
did we,
Right.
or Texoma and Sherman.
Okay, there you go. But now kids just stay home and they all connect.
FaceTime.
Yeah, they connect through their phones. And we said this, like there's not as many wrecks or teen pregnancies, but then at the same time,
Ambition.
yeah,
Sometimes.
everything just changes. I'm like, gosh, I don't.
Well, getting kids to play sports even.
That's,
like
yeah.
that's I was talking to Garrett Todd, and he was like,
Sure.
man, there's just so much more to occupy kids' minds.
That's
than,
right.
I wanted to play sports because one, I
I was
liked them,
bored.
and that's where my
Yeah.
friends were. But if your friends are in your hip pocket, but it's different now. I remember, like, I had a cell phone when I was a freshman or sophomore, brick, and I almost had to hide it at school. Like, I would never, like, get caught with it. It stayed in my
Right.
backpack or whatever until lunch. And now it's just a part of the uniform now, really, right? I mean,
Oh, our 14-year-old owed us money because we were like, we can get this phone, but you really want that one, so you
Yeah.
need to pay off the rest of it because
so
it was
crazy.
it was really that important to him. Like, oh, but it's fine.
it
Priorities.
is a different world now. And, you were talking about being concerned and stuff. And Matthew and I were talking before y'all got here about screen time. And like my 8-year-old, my 6-year-old doesn't care about it. My 8-year-old, he's a technology guy and gamer and all that. My wife is always super worried about it. Like, oh, we need to really,
As
really
is
limit.
Michelle.
Okay. But
Yeah,
see,
it's a mom thing.
She's very worried
I'm
all the time.
I'm a little more liberal about it because I almost feel like it's just the next evolution. It's just what it was. Like,
I-
did they say the same thing about newspapers? Oh, their head's always in the newspaper.
yeah.
TVs.
TVs.
They
Yeah.
did.
Too much
but
TV
Too much
screen
TV screen time.
So I
TV
know
for
it is
sure.
about balance. Excuse me, but I see a lot of people that do want to live like off-grid style, and it's like, well, that's balanced one way or the other. So
Extremes, like you've got
yeah,
extremes. Well, we're in an extreme time,
true.
as today has.
Is there something happening?
shown.
No, I'm
I
just kidding.
know. Wow.
I will say I am a little bit worried about my kid's neck though, because it's like this. all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
time, So I'm a little.
Get him
concerned
some
about
blue
that.
light glasses.
Remember how we were
Yes, we
we
do
were
have
taught
some of those.
posture
Really?
Yeah.
to type. We were taught posture, and now you go through any parking lot in a suburb, and you'll see about 15 work trucks, and some dude's neck just craned over, looking at his phone,
Yeah.
just
yeah.
waiting.
Oh.
Or it's Sonic next to you.
Sure. Yeah.
Hey, I'm the worst though. Like I'm on my phone and I'm like, oh, my hand's kind of gone numb. I need to change the way I'm holding it. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
It's telling you
like
something.
monitoring myself as an adult. Still, like self-control is just a struggle.
I saw a picture on social media of somebody looking at it, and it says, "Hey there, person with your finger under your phone and your left thumb, or your, and it's like scroll. If this is you, give me a like or something." I was like, "Yeah, it's me. I'll give a
I'm
like."
that person.
So, all right, Matthew.
Mark mentioned the square.
Oh,
Definitely.
good, Leonard. story
Growing up
scout.
in Leonard. How was that? You graduated high school here what year?
1991. So the square was
The place.
popping at that time.
Was there still a saloon here? No, I'm just kidding.
No. But kids would just, after the basketball game or whatever, you would come up and just park up at the square and hang out. and people would just drive around the square. They'd make laps, just kind of drive slow and
hanging out.
Yeah.
What was the scene in Leonard? Was that like pizza and such days?
Yes, there was a pizza El Sombrero. We would
Okay.
go to where Lee's is now.
Yeah.
That was El Sombrero. So I remember hanging
that.
out at El Sombrero a lot.
We could flesh out one of our ideas about the square.
What's that?
Does the cricket infestation of 1998 mean anything to you?
I do, but now I was teaching at the time, so I
Okay.
don't remember, but I know exactly.
Probably
It didn't-
experienced it in commerce too.
We had it at the school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
lights
In
would
the
attract
inter-
them.
in
Oh,
the
they
intermediate
smell
school.
bad.
Yes, you did.
So
it was
gross.
it was bad.
Yeah.
And my room was on the very end of that intermediate school, and it was
By the band
flooded
hall,
with
right?
yeah,
Yep.
flooded with crickets that year.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
Was it 98?
I think that's
That's
about right. That sounds
I
about
was-
right.
About right.
I'm
I think
01,
so.
that was
Yeah,
before
it was
my
awful.
time.
I worked at the Quick Check in Celeste, and I remember just emptying the trash cans, you're just full of crickets, and the
It
smell
was
just.
awful.
It's like
Never
biblical
seemed to go away.
plague level.
Yeah.
But then
It
we
was.
really haven't seen them since.
I used
it's like
to-
they
Not
all
like that.
died.
I used to do laps on the square when they'd turn the lights off because there were so many crickets out here.
Oh, okay.
But when the lights were on, there were so many crickets you could do donuts on them. Just like, yeah, I'm dead serious. I just bust a huge donut in the middle of the brick road.
So when
Oh.
you're in high school, were people still at the square? at
Oh,
all,
yeah.
or-
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
still were.
Yeah, that we were squaring it up until probably 01,
Yeah.
02 that I
mean, I
stopped anyway.
I graduated in 02, and we still squared it up in
Yeah.
the rock pits. We go out the rock
I've
pits.
heard of that, but that's
Yeah.
just legend. I didn't go.
No, it's
real,
there.
real spot, cool spot.
Yeah.
It's
Underutilized now.
an ATV Jeep place
Okay.
too. Like you can do little trails. And
Okay.
Kids are always there on the weekends. Adults too, and side by sides and stuff.
Yeah.
That's
It used
huge
to be.
now. Yeah, I saw that in the parade. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah,
There was a bunch of side by sides this
There
year.
were.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't have that kind of money. Those things are
We're-
expensive.
We're not. We're on teacher salary right now, so we're waiting for the side by side. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd have been nice if that had came with that Educator of the
Yeah,
Year.
well,
plaque,
yeah.
you know?
Just recommend that.
I will do
Whoever's
that.
after us will get that.
I will do that.
Now, Michelle, you mentioned before the show the Philippines.
Yes.
Tell us.
So my dad was in the military.
Okay.
And then married someone from the Philippines, and then I just kind of chalk it up to like crazy 70s in the Philippines. And so my parents divorced, and then he brought me and my older brother to Celeste, America. So
Wow.
Celeste, Texas. Or if you're familiar with Celeste, the community of Hawkeye.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
that's where I grew up.
I
And
call that East Celeste.
there you
Celeste,
go.
okay.
I like that a lot. So I lived with them growing up and attended Celeste schools like kindergarten through 12th. So as far as like I check on the box like half Asian and that kind of thing, but I lived in Seattle a little bit after I graduated from college, and so there's lots of Asian people on the West Coast.
Yep.
And one of the guys was like, "You're the only Filipino person I know with a flat nose, like a Filipino nose, and you have such a hick accent." And I was like, "Well, I grew up
That
Yeah.
would be the
That would
Celeste.
be the
Celeste,
then.
Texas," and I don't know why that makes me laugh.
So
Still.
did y'all know each other growing up at all?
We did not.
We did not, but Celeste girls basketball team won the Leonard Holiday Tournament,
Mhm.
the famous holiday tournament in 1990, would have been 5 because I graduated 96.
Yeah, it would
so
have
it would
been
have been the
in
95
95
tournament, and I have a photo holding the trophy like in the Leonard gym. So it would have been like, what's the junior high gym now? And we looked at it, and he's in the back of it talking to someone.
That's
and I was
cool.
like, that's our first photo. But
You were on the team.
I was on the
Okay,
team.
cool.
On the team, not like really like a star player, but hey,
Sure.
participated.
That's right.
That's
right.
that's
Got
an
to
awesome.
hold the
It is
trophy.
awesome.
That's an awesome piece of just have that photo of you two there together.
Yeah.
You always wonder if your paths crossed before. Well, now you know.
It did.
I
Yeah,
mean-
but wouldn't have known.
Wouldn't have known. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
Hmm.
it's kind of fun to look at.
Yeah,
both,
that's
both
awesome.
lived on FM 272. I was on the Leonard end, and you were on the Celeste end, but never
Another
crossed paths.
connection, but didn't know.
Oh, wow.
That's nuts.
It's a small world. And then
really is.
like you just all kind of end up knowing the same people, or like my sister-in-law, one of them is from Celeste
Mhm.
too, and older than me. But when you start going through like family connections or who knows whom, like everybody has a connection somewhere because my family goes back a lot in Celeste.
Yep.
So kind of like, some of the born in Leonards.
Well,
here
I had
are
an aha
generations
moment
back.
later in life. I started school here in 5th grade, so I had Mr. McGrew is the principal, and
Right.
Miss Scoggins was the secretary, if
My
I'm not
mom.
mistaken.
That's right.
That's right.
Years later, I meet Coach Scoggins, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I know that name.
I wouldn't have known your family from anybody
Right.
else when I moved in here, but then I found out, okay, I get it. She had kids.
Yeah.
They went to school here and went off to school, and now he's a coach here. Got it. Okay.
That's
Had
exactly
no
right.
idea.
And she worked as the elementary secretary for at least 20 years, I would think. I'm not
Sure.
sure, but
Okay.
she
She started as the kindergarten aide.
aide. That's
when
right.
You
When I
started
started
kindergarten. You were the
Right.
youngest of the 3 kids.
Because when I started kindergarten, I don't think Leonard ever had multiple sections of kindergarten. They just had one section. So I think we had a rather large kindergarten class, maybe a little bit over 20, 20
Which is
25,
crazy that
which would
that's
be
a big
large.
class.
And so they needed to
Yeah.
hire an aide to help with that class. And so she did that.
How many seniors did you graduate with?
I think it's 43.
I think we
somewhere
graduated
around there.
56, I think, my year. What about you?
Celeste was like 29.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all are always smaller a little, right?
That's right. Yeah.
It was weird talking about people you know and going back, random set of coincidences. I was in Fairbanks, Alaska a year ago this week, and I ran into Tyler Boyer because he was there militarily
Okay,
as well.
okay.
Like, we passed each other in the barracks, and we're like, whoa. So we sat and talked.
crazy.
And then I went to where I was going to be working that week, and I was talking to the lady there, the master sergeant, and she said, "Where are you from in Texas?" I have family in Texas, and I said, "Oh, I'm from northeast of Dallas." And
No, you won't. No one you'll know.
yeah,
Always.
and
yeah.
she said, "Oh, my brother's a teacher in Leonard," and I was
What?
like, "What?" Yeah, I think he teaches math in the intermediate school, 5th grade.
It would have been probably Mr. Williams.
Yes,
at that
that's
time.
it.
Yeah, Trevor
it.
Williams.
What a
Yeah.
small world.
Yeah. Anyway, I was like, man, there's more people in Fairbanks, Alaska that are from Leonard or know about Leonard than there ever has been at any moment in
Yeah,
history.
that's
You think
Yeah,
you
maybe.
know.
Yeah, maybe.
it may have happened.
It may have happened. I don't
So
know.
there's a weird Arlette Buchanan,
yes.
but her married name, last name, but Buchanan,
Mhm,
B&B.
sure.
So before I moved back here, I told you I lived in Seattle for a little bit. We did this retreat at Cannon Beach, Oregon, that's where the Goonies was filmed. You know, those
Yeah. Yep.
rocks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I heard somebody, it was like a kind of this church retreat type thing. And all the women were sharing this bathroom and bunkhouse. And I heard someone talking. And I was like, they're from the South. Like, you just
Yeah.
know when you hear it, right? And I went, hey, where are you from? Same thing. Small town, Northeast Texas. And I was like, she's like, I'm from Leonard. And I was like, no, like I'm from Celeste. And then we knew similar people.
Oh.
And then so you're friends on like social media, Facebook or whatever. So I moved back and then I marry Mark. And she later tells me, she was like, I remember when Mark was born, we were at a PTA meeting at the elementary and they announced it like, Miss Scoggins has had another little boy and his name
wow.
is Mark. And I was like, yeah, like just these weird connections.
Yeah,
That
it is.
is
That's
pretty
crazy.
wild.
Or, and you knew who she was
Yeah,
too.
oh,
And she
definitely.
lives
Yeah.
in Washington State, like, anyway, and does like some mission work stuff up there. But,
You remember Alicia Brackett?
Yes.
oh, she's great. Yeah.
Met her on vacation. I was my 6th grade summer going into 7th grade year. We were in Puerto Vallarta and met her. And she was like, yeah, I'm teaching at this little place called Leonard, and I'm going to teach 7th grade reading. And I was like, I'll be in your class.
That's amazing.
She's like, what?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
In
it
Mexico,
is.
like
In
you
Mexico.
met. Right.
She's well traveled.
Oh, yeah.
She travels
is.
a lot. Yeah.
Is she still around here? Or?
She is.
She is.
Yeah.
She would be interesting to talk to just because she's been everywhere. Like if she's
Bring her
ever,
on.
I know if she's ever sat in my class and I'll talk about a place, she's like, well, I went there. I've been there twice. And I mean, all throughout Europe. Like,
That's
I don't know.
crazy.
It's really neat. But she's real humble. Like she's a,
no, yeah.
I would brag about it. I would not be humble about that.
Look at my
But
national parks passport.
I know.
That's right.
I've got one too. Did she retire or is she still teaching?
She retired, but then she does substitute a lot.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Anyway, I don't know where we were going with that. I'm sure I
No,
derailed
that's-
something.
That was good.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably about 5 questions time.
5 questions.
We do a little segment on this show called
Feel like-
5 questions.
I feel like we haven't done it in a while. We didn't
Well,
do
we
it.
didn't do it on the year-end
Yeah.
review because it was just kind of a little short interview with guests. But
This is
we
gonna
ask,
make me nervous. Like,
we will
Oh,
ask
they're
you.
easy.
We have a
Easy
big
questions.
jar of questions that we pull from, and we will ask you 5 of those. You can answer them, and you want to start it off with one
yeah,
there,
if it's
James?
a bad question, put it back in the jar.
I do. It's supposed to be
I know.
random, but I'm like,
we
not
do
this
go through
one.
them a little
not
bit.
this one.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that one wouldn't
They're
be
not
good
all
for them.
age appropriate.
Yeah, our kids are going to listen to this. My kids like podcasts,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
they were pretty impressed
They
that
should
we
get a
got
kick
asked
out
to
of
do
this.
this.
So, who would play you in a movie about yourself?
Oh my gosh.
Ooh. What do you?
You can go either way with this. You could go who you want to play you or who might be the best fit. You know, like Ross Perot, when they made On Wings of Eagles, he chose that one dude that was like 6'5", and Ross Perot was 5'1".
This doesn't match up at all. Oh, I
Oh, I
always
know.
kinda had like the
Oh man, I know Mark's
who.
Michael J. Fox.
Okay, I like the one.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good
I've
one.
always
There you
thought
go,
you were
Michael
like
J.
a
Fox.
Family Ties Michael
I
J.
gotcha.
Fox.
I used
I
to-
like
yeah,
Michael J.
Yeah.
Fox. I always
do.
had like a celebrity crush on Matt
Well-
Damon. So I was like, it could be Matt Damon.
Okay.
Born Identity. I don't know.
Damon.
No,
See.
Mark says no. Hard pass on that.
See.
Michael J. Fox. That's good.
But what Michael J. Fox? Back to the Future era or
Family
Spin
Ties?
City
I said
or
Family Ties is what I
Family
said.
Ties,
Yeah.
Family Ties.
That's
Yeah.
what I. Yeah,
Yeah, that'll work.
That's very good.
Right. It was Family Ties, right? Not
Yeah.
the other.
yeah it's Family Ties.
I like Family Ties.
My question is, when is the last time you pledged allegiance to the United States flag?
What was the last day we got out of school?
That's what I
That's
said. It's
exactly
not
right.
a good.
That was
Oh,
easy.
you said that?
Probably
Oh, I thought you said
December.
it was perfect.
I was like, look at this. Not a.
I was going to say this is perfect for today.
Yeah, I guess it
It's
could
great.
be. Oh, when's the last time you were on a boat?
Ooh. Well, that's been a long time.
Have we taken a ferry anywhere?
That's what I was thinking, like a travel New York City, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
like a
When we were in
harbor.
New York, we went to see the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island.
Okay.
More nerd
Did
facts.
you take the ferry
Yes.
that we said?
Yeah. Do y'all remember the woman who climbed up on the Statue of Liberty?
Mm-hmm.
We were there the day before that. It's so much work to get up early and get there. And I was like, oh, if they would have shut that down the
She
day
was
we were there.
protesting like immigration or something
Something.
like that,
Yeah.
and went up and climbed up at the top and
Okay.
shut it down.
Shut
That
it
was
down.
yeah,
I was like,
for
I'd have
real.
been so
Oh, yeah.
mad if we were on that ferry and didn't get
Yes.
to go there.
Can you go in the head anymore? Like in her head?
Oh, like in the
Can you go in?
statues,
Yeah.
Lady Liberty.
I know you can go
up
inside,
there?
but can you go in the head still?
Yeah, you request these,
think
and
so.
we never,
You
like,
have
we
to-
didn't plan a far
Months
enough
in
ahead.
advance. You can't go the day of.
That's good to
we,
know.
we did it, and it was like
Oh,
just a stand in
wow.
line all day. I mean, it was like a 3 or 4 hour affair
It's a commitment.
Just to-
to get all the. But we got up in the head, and yeah,
That's
Like, well,
really
here we
cool.
are.
yeah, it was kind of creepy to be quite honest.
That's a lot of steps, too.
Heights, and you're in
I'm terrified
the
of
Statue
heights,
of Liberty.
so I can't.
Have y'all ever stood on the viewing balcony things on the Sears Tower or whatever it's called now? The
I've seen
glass bottom
it.
one.
I've not.
Matthew and I did a few years ago, and I'll be honest, it was not my favorite thing to do.
And you were in the Air
iffy.
Oh, I
Force.
hate heights. Hate them. Absolutely hate them. Yeah. I don't fly on planes. I
enjoying
forecast
them.
the
Yeah,
weather. I'm
I
like
gotcha.
Mike Middleton over here. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, well, you know,
Nice.
I came back to after I graduated boot camp. I came back or training. Came back and he was like, "What are you doing in the Air Force?" I was like, "Forecasting the weather." And he was like, "How about that?" I was like,
Every
"Oh,
once in a while, I'd hear him on the radio. I don't
Yeah.
guess
Yeah.
he does that anymore.
I don't
does he?
think so. Your turn. Sorry.
All right. What is something everybody should try at least once?
You like your different
Sushi?
Asian food. Yeah, that's what.
Pho? I don't know.
Ooh,
She's-
I love pho.
she likes that. I'm not big.
What?
Mm-mm.
What? On a day like today?
Not a
Pho.
pho fan.
Not really.
I'm just proud I could say it, I think, correctly to order it.
Oh, I used to say it faux all the time. and
I
then-
love being from a small town,
Yeah.
though. Like, who cares?
Yeah, I
Like, yeah. That's
You walked in the door, you placed the order. It's good enough for me.
That's exactly
I don't
I'm
care
with
how you
ya.
said it, you know?
You'll get your food.
What would your last meal be? Oddly enough, that was the last question.
Maybe some good brisket.
Oh my gosh, you love barbecue.
I do.
I do too. As do I.
Sure.
No, you can't. No, you got to be
You would
confident in
I
it.
know which.
Pho or
What do you
something.
think?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Pho with brisket.
Something
Yeah.
like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Something.
some pancit, the Filipino food.
Yeah,
So-
she does.
I thought there was a tree question. Like, I really
Oh.
looked hard
You
for.
do Filipino food?
Yeah, I
Hold
like
on, hold
Filipino.
Oh,
on.
yeah, we got,
Oh,
we got
yeah.
a question.
Let's talk about flavors.
Yeah. Balut.
What's a oh yeah, there you go.
Have you done balut?
I wasn't gonna start off there.
No, so maybe I don't fully know. Like, is that like intestines or something? Like, no, I'm.
It's not intestines, but it's equally as awful.
Okay, I'm gonna.
It
it's
is.
like an Anthony
is
Bourdain
Filipino,
thing
isn't
or
it?
something.
It is.
I don't know.
It is fertilized duck embryo that they then ferment and hard boil, and it's
Doesn't
it's
seem
a
very
tough one.
palatable. So no.
You've had this?
I have not had it.
Oh, okay.
I would try it. I think.
We can't watch the video.
No, it's brutal.
Can't do that.
It's brutal.
No, mine's
But
very-
everybody eats it over there. Everybody, the kids.
Well,
The
like my
folks.
grandma came to the Philippines when I was born. The one from born in like in between here and Celeste. You know? So she was like, yeah, the food, and she said there's like corn in the ice cream. She had some weird like things to remember from it, but I think they kind of tone it down for
Sure.
Americans and
Sure.
stuff.
What
But-
plates would you do?
So if I were to make Filipino food, I like adobo. It's a type of meat thing, and then a thing that sounds kind of like the embryo thing. But then pancit's just like rice noodles and chicken broth and like some vegetables and cabbage and stuff cut up in it. And
There's a lot of
it's
Spanish
very-
influence and
Definitely.
Yeah,
right?
it was a Spanish colony for a very long time. So yeah, definitely like they're Roman Catholic. And,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Their beer's called San Miguel, so
So there's
Yeah.
that too.
I like that.
Yeah.
But-
But I don't have a lot of Filipino culture in me, but it's kind of just, is it fun to say? I'm like, my kids are a quarter Asian, and they're like, no.
Right. You wouldn't be able to tell.
I don't know.
But
I
checked
that's
the
cool.
box. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
you diversified. Like, you married someone.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
gene
The
pool
gene
has
pool.
like mixed
That's
it
right.
up because
You broke the Texas
Yeah,
stereotype,
get
man.
rid of the Euro trash.
Yeah.
that's so great.
Where do you hail from?
Yeah.
We've done Ancestry.com.
Have you? Yes.
Scoggins would
You
be
did the-
probably Irish,
Have you-
Scottish, maybe.
Probably
Western
English.
Europe.
Think so?
English. I'm not 100% sure though. But we did do the DNA testing that sent that off, and
Mine's not a surprise. Like 50% over there in Asia, and then the other 50% is like Western Europe, and
Wow.
it's mostly English, Scottish.
yeah, a little Irish.
We lose on one side of my family. We have it back to like William the Conqueror, but on one side of my family, the Hartley side, we lose it, and we don't know if we can because there's a lot of Hartleys in Ireland. There's a lot of Hartleys in England. So considering we're Protestant, probably English. I
Yes.
would
Sure.
guess, So anyway, Hartley's up in the Northeast.
I
might be
consider
Roman
myself
Catholic.
half first generation American.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
They
Nobody
don't-
cares about us.
Nobody.
Nobody cares about us.
Mm-mm.
They don't care at all about the half first generation Americans or lefties for that matter.
It's true. We're both
Yeah.
lefties.
I'm
You're
a
lefty as well, yeah.
Lefty.
Me
It's special.
and my wife are lefties.
What about your
Wow.
kids? Because mine aren't.
It's iffy. They
Okay.
kind of go back and forth. They don't really know. Yeah, even at this age. Yeah, they right.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah, they throw it anyway. They're good at games. But man, wow, you threw me off with that. I was going to ask something. I lost
Is
it.
it the last question?
Thought that was the last question.
I don't know. One more.
Okay.
You asked that one already from the bottom here. When's the last time you wore a tie?
Funeral?
Funeral, yeah, probably.
Year ago? Year and a half ago?
Yeah.
Hey, considering you hadn't been to any funerals in 2020, that's good.
I know. We
I mean,
haven't had
really.
to miss school, and I'm always like, well, that means that we've all been healthy and
Yeah.
there's been no deaths, so I'm
We-
going to be grateful.
We did go to Washington, D.C. this year. Her father passed away 2019,
Mm-hmm.
but he was able to be buried in Arlington National Cemetery.
That's cool.
So
There's kind of
that's what we drove up there in July, and it was pretty vacant. Washington D.C. was. You could
Really?
pretty well walk around, but it was very strict. Arlington National Cemetery was closed to the public, so protocol you had to be
Right.
there at a certain time, and then
They
they
check
asked
your
you to
license and
ask you to
make
please
sure
leave.
Wow.
Like we couldn't. I was like, oh, we'll go around and we'll see the
Right.
eternal flame, and we'll
Nope.
do all this and
Didn't
look for
really
Audie
wanna get
Murphy. It's
thrown
like,
out.
no, they said once you're done, he says like, hey, take your time. You got about 10 or 15 minutes left, and then please be making your way
Yeah.
out of here. It was like, okay, we're gonna do that.
Wow.
But it was quite an honor though. It was.
What was that experience like? I mean,
Well,
I know it's colored
no,
by the fact that
no.
it's your father. But
Sure. But it was really such an honor. And then you go into it, and you are military, so everything is just so precise and well done. And, there's the protocol and just the tradition of it all. And he was cremated. So I didn't know what you would call where someone was laid to rest that's been cremated, but it's called a columbarium. So
yeah.
we had been to Arlington National Cemetery years ago and done the stuff where you see the things
Audie
like
Murphy's grave?
Right,
Yes.
Eternal Flame, JFK, all of those things.
changing the guard.
Right.
Yes,
Tomb
exactly.
of the Unknown Soldier, all of those things. And when we got there, I had to look it up on Google Maps. And I was like, okay, I can see this. And you can see the roads that they directed us to go to where the columbarium is. But they did the 21 gun salute with the, 3 volley of 7.
Yep.
And, you get some of those as like a casing when it comes from that. So that happened, and they spoke, and they did the flag, and the bugler played taps. And so some of that was kind of just emotional because you're like in the moment. But, for the boys, like, just what an honor for Will and Ben, our sons, to see that. And then now that he's laid to rest there, my stepmom will always have a permanent access to it. And then my brothers and sister and I will too. We just have to go online to apply. So like we saw families in Arlington National Cemetery when we were getting ready for that. And it's closed, but I realize now, like, we can go in now because we have somebody buried there. They were visiting a grave or something.
Sure.
And, but yeah, I mean, like, we drove into it. Like, it was sort of, they say the thing, like, surreal. Like, whoa, we're really at this place.
And it is a national park, right?
I don't know what it's maintained by. Like, if it's a part of, like, the Department of the Interior or if it's, like, military.
No, I think there is a stamp for the passport stamps that
I think it's a national park.
I'm not 100% sure.
You're probably right on that.
I
So
don't
all
know
those
that, but I
things
think
were closed. But yeah, when we were in DC this summer.
So when y'all went the first time, did y'all get to see the changing of the guard?
Yeah, so first time,
we
yes,
did.
we
Yeah.
did.
Did you get to see them yell at anybody?
No.
Oh, you've never seen them yet? Like, you should go on YouTube and type in Tomb of the Unknown yell or something, because people will talk and the guys walking, they will stop, and it's uncomfortable. Like, it's pretty gnarly.
But
So
when we were in DC this summer, I know we need to wrap this up, but it was just really an odd experience because we'd been there before and it was so crowded, but like nobody was there this summer just because of COVID.
there's some people there now.
I know, you guys. I know. Crazy. But like, we were just like walking into the Lincoln Memorial and there was no one in it.
Sounds like a great time to go, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. I told the boys, I was like, just try to remember this moment because here we are at like the Vietnam War Memorial and like not a soul. And it was so, and we walked the Capitol. So seeing some of to the Capitol and Capitol Hill and seeing some of those images today, I just was sad. Like, we were asking some of the Capitol Police some questions and I was like, God, that's those guys. Those guys are the ones there today in this mess that's going on.
What has been, as before we wrap this up, what's been the oddest thing about COVID, like for y'all? For me personally, I still get these weird moments like sitting in church and we're all in like masks and socially distanced, and it's just kind of like this weird. Matthew and I went for my birthday to Austin, and we were walking down the street, and there was like riot police on horseback. And then, like shields and body armor and, the whole nine. Nothing was popping off, but they were just there, and people were like going to bars, but all masked. It was just a weird kind of like post-apocalyptical dystopia or something. I don't know.
I never thought that I would be teaching the entire day with a mask on. That's it's kind of you don't go into the profession thinking this is something that's gonna happen, but it is. And once you get started, you don't really think about it too much. You just go on
till that bell rings.
Yeah,
and then you're like,
no kidding.
Yeah,
I would just the way society's changed. Like is this an answer to the question? I think it's brought out the best and worst in people.
Absolutely.
And so you see this is kind of the big struggle so far for our generation. And I don't know if it's united us. And so I worry about that and just like, but
sure.
I don't know. That was a vague answer.
No,
I think your mask was a better one. And I miss doing things in groups
me too.
of people. And I feel like a responsibility to not, or to try to follow. I'm a rule follower, so whatever that means. And I try my best to have a semi-normal life while still abiding by those rules. But it's hard because you've missed out on so many things.
I know we were talking
that we took for granted.
Concerts are big for us. We miss concerts.
The ability to gather,
or like,
just to assemble.
And to be so tightly packed, like we were in New York City on July 4th one time. I think there were 2 million of us gathered either on the East River or on the Hudson. And I mean, your personal space, I was totally scrunched up to some stranger next to me as well as my family. And I'm like, I can't It's hard to remember that was real
look-
life.
I looked through my memories the other day, and on New Year's Day, my brother and I were in London. For the London Eye, we were right across from
Yes.
the Thames from the London Eye. I had a perfect in between the building shot of it. Saw the whole thing there, but we waited for six hours, I think, in the same spot. I think we had 5 to 6 different countries represented, touching us.
So cool.
I mean, there's Jamaica and Germany and Canada, all these different people around us, and probably 2 million people too. I mean, it's packed. And then on the subway there's a picture of Brett holding the top of the subway rails and all these people around him. I was like, man,
Because
that's
you're
a different
touching,
time.
Yeah, it's just a different
We
reality.
picked our feet up and just got moved along the
Yes.
the platform.
Yes,
It's crazy.
it's crazy.
Well, I think we've done it.
I think so.
Hour 10.
Oh wow, y'all are so easy
Yeah.
to talk
Yeah.
to and
See
so
how
nice.
see how that went?
That is
Yeah.
good.
I tell you, it goes
We
fast.
thank you very much for coming in. Congratulations very much on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce for winning the Educators of the Year.
Sorry
Thank
about the
you.
stink bomb.
Oh, that's okay. Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Michelle and Mark Scoggins, thank you.
Thanks.